This is Byron Lazine and Nicole White, and you are tuned into episode 166 of The Real Word.
Word is up.
You know what is up, Nicole?
I think lots of things.
Lots of things are up, but the first episode of The Real Word Confessionals went up last week. If you missed it, you absolutely got to go check it out. We had The Broke Agent, Eric Simon, creator of The Broke Agent, and Matt Leonetti, his sidekick on the Overask podcast, on the first ever episode. It is on this channel. So if you're, listening to this wherever you listen to your podcast, or if you are watching on YouTube, go check out The Real Word Confessionals. We're going to be dropping a new confessional every single week. We've got an amazing guest who we'll mention at the end of this show. On this week's episode, we've got Tom Ferry coming up. We've got some heavy-hitting guests where we ask them the hardest questions they've ever been asked in their life. To tell stories that have never been told. So make sure you check that out. And this show goes unchanged, so let's get right into it. Let's jump into Racket number 1. Inman article. Bernice Ross did a really good job breaking this down. Is independent contractor status for real estate agents coming to an end? That's a huge question in this industry. It's been talked about for years, quite honestly, but back in the news because if the PRO Act, PRO Act is passed, it would make the ABC test for independent contractor status the law of the land and would classify most real estate professionals and almost all other gig workers as employees. So let's understand the ABC test before we jump into Bernice's Inman article, which of course we'll link below. All right, so number 1, or A, the worker is free from the control and direction of the hiring entity in connection with the performance of the work. Would you say on A, on the ABC test, that
are you finding this in the
that?
article? Are we reading the same article?
No, this is outside of the article.
Oh, because it's in the article. They have an ABC in the article.
Oh, they have it in the article?
They do.
I'm reading it from some. I looked it up because California Supreme Court is now holding the ABC test for independent contractors. That applies retroactively. Mm-hmm. So that's something to watch with what's happening in California. And I'm reading specifically based off.
I love it. I just want to make sure that they know that they can read it in the article too.
Okay, you can also read it in the article. Mm-hmm. I'm reading it on a law review publication. So where is it in the article?
Right in the middle, under provisions of the PRO Act that eliminate IC status.
So let's read theirs. The individual is free from control and direction in connection with the performance of the service, both under the contract for the performance of service and in fact.
Still just so many words.
Then it goes to B. So do you feel like you are free from control and direction in the, in connection with the performance?
Performance.
Of the service. Of the performance.
It's such
we're a little different because we're a team. We have standards. Here.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, but our brokerage has standards though too. I mean, they give you a book. They want you to. Again, if you've actually ever read it, they want you to dress a certain way when you're in the office as well. So again,
I'd like you to. Those are suggestions.
It's suggestions, absolutely. I think that we are free, but in all honesty, I mean, being a realtor. You have certain standards that you need to follow regardless of what brokerage you're under as well. So it's almost like as the occupation, we have certain things that we need to follow. So let's
be clear. You want to remain an independent contractor, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
As do I.
Yes, 100%.
B is the one that in the ABC test that this article and many others say would trip up the real estate industry. The service is performed outside the usual course of business of the employer. The service is performed outside the usual course of business of the employer. Well, obviously, if it's a real estate brokerage, their usual course of business is transactions on real estate, helping people buy and sell real estate. And that's exactly what the salesperson would be doing. So that one is the one that they're saying would really trip up the real estate agent. C, the individual is customarily engaged, or ABC, number 3 or C, engaged in an independently established trade, occupation, profession, or business of the same nature as that involved in the service performed. That one's a little gray there too.
Super gray.
Right? So this has been proposed, and let's just be clear here, and they get into this here. I think Michael Lissick, a managing broker for the Virtual Realty Group in Oregon and Washington, He's been involved in a number of labor claims and litigation regarding violations of existing independent contractor laws in multiple states. I don't know why he's been involved in so many lawsuits. But anyways, he believes the odds the bill would pass the Senate are about 60 to 40, which is interesting because it would take actually 60 senators. So that the Democrats who proposed this bill have, obviously we have a split Senate 50-50. They would have their 50 votes, you would presume, and then they would need 10 Republican senators to ride along and override any filibuster of the bill. Now, and I would agree with Mike Lisick, we're not taking any sides here politically, but I would agree with him that the Senate and our, the current state of our country and the things that are on the list for the Senate to decide on this year, we have a much bigger fish to fry than the A/B test. And he says it doesn't even register on the Senate's priority list. I would agree with that. Like, why the heck are they going to tackle this when we have so many other issues going on? Now, he mentioned something that has been very near and dear to, Republican senators, that Section 230, that, being able to limit what big tech companies can do. They're very much protected under Section 230. And he says, hey, if the Democrats were willing to get rid of Section 230 to protect big tech, then maybe the Republicans would give up, this or something else, right? I would say that none of this is going to happen. If this does get passed, it wouldn't even take place until 2023. I don't believe, as the bill exists today, and this is kind of the feeling from the article, that this has any shot of passing as proposed. And it says, as proposed, the PRO Act remains unlikely to win Senate approval this year, but it is something that they have proposed and they're talking about it. So if you're a broker, a team leader, a real estate agent, somebody getting into real estate, I've been saying right now is the best time to get into real estate. It is one of the best industries to get into. And now all of a sudden, if you're going to be an employee, like all that could go out the window, because you now, you may not be able to make the kind of money you can make in this industry and have the control over how you make it. So 87% of realtors are independent contractors, only 5% are employees. You know who this benefits if this were to happen? And I don't think it'll happen, but if it does happen, Nicole, who this benefits?
The ones that just want to look busy?
No. That's a good point. But no. Do you know who this really benefits?
Go for it.
This benefits big companies, Zillow, Redfin, Open Door, who can shift very quickly into an employee model. Those companies, not the brokerages, certainly not the brokerages that rely on desk fees or the brokerages that have a low margin split and, whatever.
Potentially.
The models that exist today, oh, for sure. This completely, listen, these types of bills, which is why, Section 230 is talked about so much, big tech. These types of bills only help the big guy. These do not help the little single agent who wants to stay an independent contractor. And if you took a poll of real estate agents,
100%.
We all want to stay independent.
I agree. I 100% agree with that. 100%. Yes.
This is completely like, when you see those bills that help Walmart, stay in business, like when you talk about, and this is kind of going down a path I don't really want to go down, but you talk about minimum wage. Oh, minimum wage should be $15.
Well, it does.
Help?
And again,
it helps Walmart. It doesn't help the little mom and pop shop around the corner. They get put out of business.
It does reference that in the article. There are, I think, what did they give us? They give us 11, 10, what's ahead, 10 things that may change, 10 changes to expect if it becomes law. So I know we didn't really want to harp on those, but definitely worth reading to sort of.
And they actually do. You're right. I didn't. They do talk about the $15 minimum wage.
They talk about the minimum wage. They talk about what the average agent is making. Again,
you have far less agents in the industry, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, right?
Right. I mean, but again, then it's interesting though, because then I'm certain that it'll all trickle down. I mean, commissions now. Like, what are those going to look like? And
according to NAR in 2019, the median income for realtors was $49,700. Consequently, at least half of the current realtor population wouldn't make the cut for full-time employment. So you have far less agents. You will have, no doubt about it, when people are not incentivized to provide an exceptional service to the consumer, you will have consumers that get less than expected service, which means they will, over time, want to pay less on their commission fees because they're probably picking up a portion of the work, which will completely just change the industry. You will have what we've been talking about, Uber guides, right? Not to put down any Uber driver, but to me that's more of a stepping stone than a career that you want to live in for your entire life. That's a stepping stone, right? That's like, hey, I'm gonna come back from college. I'm gonna wait tables in the summer. Hey, right now I'm studying at school. I'm gonna pick up some Uber shifts for a year. It's not something you say I'm gonna be an Uber driver for 30 years, right? So you're gonna get that level of service. Now I've seen some great Uber drivers, especially when they started, when they were required to keep their cars clean. I had some really good Uber drivers. Today, I mean, it's about 10%. Most of these cars are stinky, smelly, dirty, filthy, disgusting. The service for Uber drivers has been basically really bad out of my last, 20 or so rides rather. And I haven't taken that many in obviously in 2020, but just looking back on the last couple of years, and I just recently was in an Uber coming back from the airport a month or two ago, which is why, Nicole, I had you
pick you up. You wanted a clean car?
Your car was nice and clean.
You're lucky.
And the service was phenomenal, and I didn't actually have to pay you, so that was a benefit there as well. But that's what will happen. The level of service provided if you go to this, and Uber drivers right now are independent contractors, so this completely changes
their game
industry
too.
as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. But talking about the real estate industry, which is what we're talking about, the service provided would go down, and it would be controlled by the few, not by the many, which it is right now. You're talking a Zillow, Redfin, Realtor, Open Door takeover. The ones that shift to employee status quickly, and those are the companies that could do it. Yeah,
a lot to chew on here. A lot to chew on.
Yeah, again, this wouldn't happen until January 1st, 2023. I do believe, my 2 cents is, this will not happen. This is something that, some of these politicians have thrown out there, maybe as a bargaining chip to get something else. I don't think it's the top of the priority list, which is referenced in this article. And I think they'll focus their attention somewhere else, as they should. They've got a lot bigger problems in this country than trying to screw over a system that is working. And hopefully NAR will stay on top of this and do everything in their power to prevent a catastrophe like this happening. Love your comments. If you are for it, against it, what your thoughts are.
Well, there's tons of comments too, so I encourage everybody to read below. Some people are for it. Some people are saying that the S Corp will exclude them. Some are saying, I don't think that's really true. So still a lot of questions that clearly agents are still having even after reading this. So something very interesting to continue to follow for sure.
Yeah, this has some of these Inman articles will have like 1 or 2 comments.
Yeah.
This has a lot of comments happening.
A lot,
in the
for
Inman
sure.
section.
Well, it's all very interesting things. And again, some people are saying I'm an S Corp, and others are, again, that seems to be the biggest thing where they're thinking that they're going to be excluded. Some people are saying that they would love for the industry to have, more set standards.
Well, here's the thing. Here's who it would benefit. Outside of still in those companies, I'm a big proponent of teams. Team. The middle is getting cut out. The solo agent needs to either hire employees around them, top producing solo agent, or you've got to be a part of a team. If you're in the middle, you're toast. I've been saying that over and over again. And as it's currently proposed, Bernice Ross in the comments, who wrote the article, they agree. She says that the workaround is to become an LLC or an S Corp, whatever your state requires. This will probably wash out non-productive agents or those who aren't prepared to go through the process of incorporating. Talk about a team takeover. I already think it's here. This would just accelerate that. We would be fine. You and I both hold broker's license. You and I operate as a team, and our team members would be fine. But those solo agents that I've been talking about, those part-timers, they would definitely get washed out for sure. No question about it. So I don't think listen, I think the proposal is a total racket. The fact that this even is being proposed and talked about with everything else going on in our world is a complete government waste of if they steal our tax money anyways, and this is just completely wasting it. So this is a waste of time. I don't think,
again, there's
as
more
real
than
estate
just
professionals, I don't think there's anything to worry about.
And there's more than just real estate that this is going to be affecting. So the hope is it's not just going to be agents sort of making a ruckus. I mean, this is really going to, like you said, even the Uber driver, I mean, they'll be affected as well.
Yeah. Use our tax money for something better. Why don't you start helping people here? All right. Racket number 2. Low inventory. 11 ways to generate more listings ASAP. So we're obviously in the low inventory world. And these are some things that we can do. And Nicole and I are going to pick out what we believe every agent should be doing right now out of these 11. So number 1, expired listings that are 3 to 12 months old. Going after those. 3 to 12 months old.
What are we saying? Yay or nay? Is that our thing here?
Yeah, I mean, we'll pick our top one. This one is definitely going to be in the bottom half for me. And
12 months.
I built my business off of expired listings.
Yep.
Right. And Nicole knows how much our team has trained on expired, not in the last year, obviously, because the market's shifted. But historically, we've been very heavy on expired scripts and Mojo and V7 and going after expireds. This is not a valuable use of time compared to some of the other things on this list that you can be doing. If there is still, a lonely expired out there, sure, go after it. Not at the top of the list for me.
No, but I do have to say that I would go back probably even further than 12 months. I would see individuals that were maybe looking 3 years ago. Again, their days on market are probably atrocious. Yeah. And those are the sellers that were overpriced because they were still thinking that their house was worth what it was worth in 2005. And now you can actually have those conversations with those sellers though and be like, hey dude, like what you had it listed for 3 years, I can definitely guarantee you getting that or more. So again, I think
overpriced. 3 to 5 years.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. Again, I would go back further than 3 months. I would, and I would go back further than 1 year too. So I don't think that you should exclude the expired completely, but I do think you need to sort of put your search back a little bit further and grab those individuals that tried years ago, or at least have a conversation with them. Like, why were you wanting to sell then and now you don't? Again, if anything, I think it would. I would put this probably at my top or half, but that's me.
Okay. Yep. Well, what you're describing, going all the way back, I put that up the list. But as they describe it,
total racket
in the bottom part of my list.
Yeah.
In search of posts on social media, I would argue that this should be a video. And I love where they're starting with this. We talk about this with the team all the time.
All the time.
I'm working with a family looking for a 3-bed, 2-bath home. I'd actually get permission from the family. I'm working with Mr. and Mrs. Jones. They're looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath property in Guilford, Connecticut. And I'd appreciate you, at first I would tell the story instead of just coming right out with, I appreciate you letting that's the close,
right?
Considering selling. I'd have 3 bullet points of like, here's the properties we've looked at, here's the struggles we've had, here's the amount of offers we've made, here's the solutions that we've provided moving forward. And if you know of anybody, this is what I do for my clients. If you know of anybody that is thinking about selling in the coming months and would like to meet Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I'd love to make that introduction. So yeah, this is towards the top of my list in video form, not just writing it on social. Everybody's doing that.
Everybody is writing it on social. Yeah.
Farming. It's the most fundamental way to generate listings.
Well, I think this is just something that should just be part of what you're doing regardless though.
Yeah.
Do you go heavier? I guess, but again, as we get further down, you start talking about like circle prospecting. I think picking up the phone in this situation is so much more urgent than like putting out a mailer.
The problem with farming is it's typically takes 12 months to really start seeing growth from your farm. So it's not something you can implement today. Should it be part of your business, to your point? Yes. Is it something that's going to generate you listings right now? No. And if you need listings now, it's probably towards the bottom of my list because you can't have that expectation
Right.
on day one of a farming campaign.
Absolutely.
Number 4, door knocking.
So I think if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic, I would put this pretty close to the top of the list. I think that, again, much like the farming, and again, when we get back down to circle prospecting or calling in expired, I do think that the door knocking is certainly part of your follow-up. But again, I'm still a little hesitant about the whole door knocking thing during an epidemic.
Yeah, I think it depends on where you live. One, so, on the Connecticut shoreline where a lot of the properties are spread out and you don't have, really, you don't have like, these quarter lot neighborhoods where you just have house after house after house after house. That becomes harder to door knock. It is winter, or well, it is spring now, but
Ish.
the weather's not perfect all the time. And we are in the middle of a pandemic, and the culture in the Northeast, around a pandemic is different than if you look at Florida, where
Right.
you have a gated community,
Yes.
you have homes very close to each other, you can be outside safely and social distance, and the culture there would be a little bit more comfortable with a door knock. So if you're in one of those areas, you have to understand, obviously you have to understand your market.
Right.
But if you're in one of those areas, yeah, I would probably be thinking about door knocking. And, like Florida, for example, all those communities are gated, so you have to be in there and have permission to do that, or living there. So you have to follow the rules wherever you are. But yeah, I think if you can get, if you can use your time to your advantage, you're in one of those nice neighborhoods in California. Now, maybe the culture there, to your point with the pandemic, wouldn't want you, not door knocking.
Right.
But yeah, if it's going to be generally accepted, I'd go ahead and do that. Probably not the top of my list though either.
Yeah. No.
Number 5, this one is at the very top of my list. I can tell you right now, this is my number one thing every agent should be doing. That's circle prospecting. This gives you the ability to help 2 people at once. It helps the consumer, the homeowner that you're calling, because you're providing value and information about a house that was just listed down the road and sold with multiple offers, or about a buyer that you have that's looking in their specific neighborhood, who has made offers in the neighborhood and who's been outbid and is still looking, and you're trying to uncover one person, one neighbor, one friend of theirs who's thinking about selling. You're doing right by your buyer by working stuff off the MLS, and you're doing right by the homeowners and consumers by calling them and not selling them. You're providing instant value about their neighborhood that they probably didn't know before because they're busy with life and they're not, completely paying attention to everything that's going on. So that one is at the very top of my list. We've had agents on our team have a ton of success using circle prospecting. You can do that. We don't get paid for, to say this. You can go on, which we should get an affiliate link with Mojo, but you can go on Mojo and get the neighborhood search and use circle prospecting through that dialogue.
I think what's interesting and important, I shouldn't say interesting, but important to note here, again, and you mentioned sort of both ways that this can work, because I know that our agents have been really successful because they have buyers looking in neighborhoods, and you're, reaching out to the homeowner, seeing if they know anyone that wants to list. But in this article, they're actually telling you to call the neighbors when you have a new house coming on the market too. So it's sort of like a flip way of, hey, do you know any buyers that are looking to move into your neighborhood? But that easily could move into getting additional listings in the neighborhood if they then know that like the neighbor is coming on and like what the price is and what are they going to be able to get. So circle prospecting can certainly work both ways, where if you don't have a buyer but you have a listing, go for it. And again, if you don't have a listing but you have a buyer, like go for it. So again, because I know a lot of agents like to come up with excuses for not actually doing it. So in this situation, there's really sort of zero excuse if you have something going on. And if somebody on your team has a listing coming on, or somebody within your brokerage has a listing coming on. So no excuses.
I was just on Tom Ferry's podcast. You should go check it out if you haven't already. And I brought up circle prospecting, and Tom's like, it's been around since the 60s. Like, it's been around since the 60s through every single market because it works. Right. So in this market, for sure, with low inventory, you should definitely use it. All right, open houses, yay or nay on the opens right now?
So I'm always a huge lover of the open house. I think where agents sort of ignore the importance of them is that there are buyers coming through, obviously, to buy it, but you never know when that buyer is also needing to sell. So it's almost sort of like an interview too. Like, what are you doing at the open house? How are you trying to sell it? Like, again, I think that open houses are beautiful. I think though too, that these are wonderful opportunities. Again, and I don't want to use the word obviously farming, but this is a great time for you to send out mailers to invite the neighbors. This is a whole nother way of doing a circle prospecting. So if you're going to be spending the 2 hours at an open house, this is a great opportunity to invite the neighbors, make phone calls, introduce yourself. And then again, when buyers do come through, make sure like your game is on, because again, if not many people are doing open houses and you're the agent that's out doing them, I mean, this is your time to shine. I think that open houses through all of it that's always been my biggest generator for leads or just long-term relationships. So open houses are always important and huge in generating listings for sure.
And in a low inventory environment, you're going to get visitors at your open house.
Tons of visitors.
Yeah.
Almost to the point too
safely.
where you're kind of like, oh shit, like I can't talk to all of these people. But again, use that opportunity to invite all of the neighbors too. Like, hey, your neighbor's house is coming on the market. They'll be so much more apt to actually read that than, hey, like the market is up 25% because they got 9 of those from all the other agents. So
it's likely the best story you can tell on any given week through your social, through to your point, the calls that you're making, the invitations that you're making, and do it safely so that when they show up, they feel very comfortable with you and having a conversation through the mask with you. But yeah, I would say open houses for sure. Unsolicited video CMAs is number 7. Yeah, I mean, I like this. If you're really targeting a certain area, I do like this. Probably not at the very top of my list, but sure, I like this. And you know who I like it better for? Is the people who have bought a home from you, if you've been in the industry this long, 5, 6, 7 years ago. You know, those people who you just don't know. If you drop a CMA and they realize what their value is, they may be thinking about moving. Life changes after 5, 6, 7 years, even if they said it was their dream house.
I like that idea.
5 years ago.
I never even really thought of it. Because again, you've been in their home. Because I think the biggest problem with people providing dollars towards someone's home, they're like, well, my house is so much better than that house across the street. So again, if you're dropping them unsolicited, sometimes it could backfire because they feel like maybe you sort of underrated. But I love your idea of revisiting all of your past clients, because again, you are pretty familiar with their home. And if not, it's a great way to touch them again. And maybe they know somebody that wants to sell or buy. I like that one.
That's right. You're starting the conversation with your past
Absolutely.
clients. Always a good thing. Number 8, expired listings and for sale by owner listings, but they already said expired.
We already talked about expired.
Well, they listed again.
Huh. Oh, they expired.
That are specific 3 to 12. Now they're just saying expired in general, or for sale by owners. Obviously, for sale by owners. I love this one. You got to go create the relationship.
I love for sale by owners.
At extreme amounts of value without expectation. So you need to educate, and follow up. See how the process is going. See if you can help them. See if you can do, if you are really starting out in this industry and you need a listing, offer to host an open house for free. You're going to pick up buyers. You're going to meet a lot of people in the community. And then you're going to tell those people who, to Nicole's point earlier about open houses, might be interviewing for you for a listing of their own. Hey, I decided, I asked, Mr. Jones, Mrs. Jones, if I could host an open house, use all my marketing with no expectation. This is what I'm doing for the community. This is how I'm giving back to our neighborhood. People are going to be like, whoa, I want to hire this. I want to hire this person.
100%. I mean, I got a for sale by owner maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I got interviewed for it. They decided to do it on their own, but then they asked me for a photographer's number. They asked me for what wall color they should paint. They said, what color, like what lighting should I put in? And I answered all of them. And as soon as it didn't sell, they came right back. And again, I was then able to, use the photos because I knew the photographer and I knew that the wall colors were right because I told them what to do. So it's very interesting though, because I do think that there are going to be a lot more for sale by owners in this market because it's moving so quickly. So sellers are probably thinking that they can do it on their own. So I agree with you. I mean, hosting an open house would be a wonderful option. Or if you notice something that's sort of like maybe off in their listing, just to kind of give them a little bit of advice. Like if they're not doing professional photos, maybe again, offer them sort of that additional service. It may not end up working because again, things seem to be selling so quickly, but I think that if you continue, like you're saying, to feed them some information, hey, are you sure you have all the contracts that you need when you're listing? Just things like that would be very helpful. But That would not be top of my list. I don't know that I'd be going after for
It's
sale
a
by
lot of time.
owners.
So you got to really be out of some of these other options. Orphaned Neighborhoods, number 9, which is basically what they're saying, a 3 to 5 year old track built home by a national builder. You know, their sales team has now left the neighborhood, and this is more of a farming play to me.
Definitely more of a farming play.
It's going to be bottom of the list to get instant business now.
Definitely a farming,
Racket on this
definitely
list.
farming thing.
Past buyers, we just mentioned that, going after your past buyers and dropping that CMA off. Absolutely, your past buyers, especially those that are 5 years plus. If you've been in the industry that long, you should be talking to all of your past buyers. You should have been doing it in 2020 to make sure that they refied, for sure. But if you haven't, you should be doing it now. Number 11, online seller leads. Absolutely. Google, for sure. You want to make sure your reviews are up on Google. Facebook ads. Facebook ads for sellers are going to be 12 months out, so a little bit more, long term there. But creating content around solutions for sellers, would be the way I would go about that, and running Facebook ads off of that original content that you produce. Good one there.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think things to think about.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, top of my list is the
Circle prospecting. I figured.
What did you have?
I'm just an open house lover. I always have been. Yeah. I mean, I'll bitch and complain about them, but if you do them right and execute on them properly, and have your shtick tight, I mean, you'll have business for life.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Marketeer of the week, Zachary Faust. He goes by Zach Loft on TikTok. I think it's Zach Loft on TikTok. Basically, all of his Instagram handles are Zachary Loft. Zach has 1.6 million
with an M
followers on TikTok, the most followed real estate agent on all of TikTok, and he is our guest this coming week, or this week that we are in right now, this Thursday, as it will drop, episode 2 of the Real Word Confessional. So we're going to ask him exactly how he accumulated those 1.6 million followers. So if you want that answer, make sure you have subscribed to the Real Word. Hit the subscribe bell. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on the podcast, subscribe, leave us a review, and watch for the notification for the Zachary Faust confessional.
I think what's great about him is obviously we brought him in because of the amount of followers, and again, much like Matt last week and the broke agent, they're running their business mostly off of humor. But what you'll hear in this interview is that Zachary is a smart dude. I mean, his brain is constantly moving. He's testing, trying, touching, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. I mean, I was tired after listening. So again, I think that what was nice for me to see was that not only is he sort of on there as humor, he definitely has clout behind him. I mean, he knows what he's doing.
And he has his own, him and a partner have their own independent brokerage in Delaware. So he's a practitioner. He's not just somebody goofing around. On TikTok. He's doing it. He's selling real estate. He's helping agents grow their business. And definitely somebody you should be following. He has some great Instagram content. I follow him on Instagram. And check out the confessional. I thought it was really good. And I hope you guys will enjoy that if you check it out. So that's it. That's the Real Word.
Good. I love it.
All right. In the comments, I would love to hear about your thoughts on the independent contractor, maybe even which one of the 11, low inventory ways to generate more listings. Love to hear your favorite.
Or maybe somebody has a 12th that maybe they didn't mention. Yeah. Would love that. I mean, especially in this market, now's the time to try it all and share for sure.
Some of those are tried and true for sure. Most of those are tried and true. So if you've got a 12th that we can all learn from, please share that in the comments. And I would not get worried or worked up about the independent contractor stuff. I think that's a lot of smoke. Hopefully I am right.
Hopefully.
I often am.
Uh-oh.
Ruh-roh.
That
was not a good way to end it.
Maybe not.
All right. Keep it real, guys. Thank you so much. And we'll see you here next time on The Real Word.
See ya.